that maybe my comrades from the multi-stakeholder forum, maybe we're here to, as a leadership, to give an update. But just because it's maybe some political issues, I can just shock your mind, because I wasn't actually representing the MSF in this meeting. But maybe just to bring everyone up to speed what has been happening in the kingdom of late, I can just briefly go through these issues. Maybe allow me, comrade. Am I audible enough?
Very audible. You can go ahead, comrade.
Okay, thanks, comrade. Maybe firstly, let us appreciate, the regional civic society for the solidarity work that you've been doing on the question of Swaziland in the past 2 or even many other years, that have been taking place. We appreciate that you've been taking the bloody flag of Swaziland all over your countries and platforms, where you have continuously raised the democratic deficiencies in our country and called for democratic reforms and justice for the people that have been murdered by the state in Swaziland, and also all the injustices that have been taking place. Maybe firstly, I'll talk about the issue of dialogue. You'll remember that since June 29, 2001, there's been a call for a genuine and credible dialogue for Swaziland to resolve the political crisis in this country. SADC and the organ for Troika have been trying persistently to call for that dialogue, but the Kingdom of Eswatini, as well as the government of Swaziland, seems not to want to adhere into that particular issue of calling for a genuine and credible dialogue. So that's why even now, from all the communication that have been coming from the organ Troika and SADC on politics, security, and peace, nothing has been implemented in that particular regard in the country. What we have seen is that the king is adamant in calling for his elections this particular year, so that he can sanitize what he did in the 29 June 2001 and silence the call for a genuine, credible, inclusive dialogue in the Kingdom of Eswatini. But I think another thing that has happened in Swaziland this particular year, we have seen the conviction of the members of parliament that have been arrested since July 2001 for actually instigating or for allegedly instigating, violence and the uprising in the particular countries. They've been charged and also they've been convicted on the charges for suppression of terrorism, as well as murder of some of the people that were killed by the state security people during the unrest in June 29. So as we speak, they are awaiting for their sentencing in the High Court. And you must note, comrade, that they are not going to be getting less than 20 years, because there is a stipulated minimum, sentence for suppression of terrorism act in Swaziland, which is 25 years and above, as well as for the murder charges that are actually facing. So we need to do more in terms of highlighting these injustices and calling for their immediate release, and also calling for justice into the shame way that this trial has been conducted by the state as well as the judiciary in the country. Another key development maybe that has happened is that the government of Swaziland has appealed the Suppression of Terrorism Act and the Subversive and Sedition Act High Court judgment, which declared some sections of this act as unconstitutional and inconsistent with the Bill of Rights. What actually means is that if the government, actually gets away with this, there will be a lot of crackdown on democracy activists and human rights defenders in Swaziland, using the Suppression of Terrorism Act as a tool, to target and deal with activists, human rights, democracy activists, and also of the willy-nilly declaration of classifying or prescriptions of organizations as individuals as well as entities as terrorist organization. So what you're actually seeing is that a number of comrades and activists that have been charged with this Suppression of Terrorism Act for the past 10, 12, 13 years since it came into about, they are going to be summoned into court, and some people are going to be forced to run away or into hiding, because the government seemed adamant to use this Terrorism Act, to suppress dissent and deal with progressive issues in the country. One other update is that there's been little progress, comrade, with the investigation on the matter of the leading human rights lawyer in Swaziland, Thulan Maseko. Government have not done any updates or how far they go with the investigation, if there are any leads, and what is happening with these particular issues. And it seems to be just shaving this aid and fading away from the spotlight. So I think we need to amplify the voices for the Justice for Thulane campaign for a proper investigation and impartial, so that can get to know what happened and who is responsible for that gruesome murder of the leading human rights lawyer, and also to seek justice for him. And I think maybe civic society and also in the region, we need to look into a possibility maybe of filing an application in the High Court of Eswatini to get an update from the police on the state of investigation, because I don't think we could just let this issue to slide away in that particular issues. Then something that maybe is of highlight is that Swaziland is due for elections. The ones that political parties are banned and where participation is through individual merit and is not through or is actually held outside the guidelines and principle of democratic elections in the SADC as well as in the African Union. As we speak today, the King has dissolved Parliament, and he seemed to have actually regained lost ground, and he didn't actually touch on the issue of dialogue. He just said people will get time to converse after the elections. So it actually tells you that the King is adamant to hold the dialogue that is not inclusive, that is held according to his terms and outside of the actual requirement that is needed. So those are some of the issues that maybe they need to be highlighted, and the demands for the people of Swaziland, I think they have not yet changed as captured by the 5 key points that we've been using in the past areas. I think maybe that's where I can end for now. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Maxwell. I think that was quite comprehensive, and really it allows us to have a deeper and more nuanced appreciation of the state of affairs in the kingdom. And yeah, there are really quite worrying developments, which really needs us to think more sharply and more broadly in terms of what we can do as a region to support and stand in solidarity with the comrades that are being persecuted in Eswatini, but I think also more broadly in terms of the situation across the region, noting that some of these tactics that we see being implemented by King Mswati are not really unique to Eswatini, but seem to be more of a copy and paste job by our governments across the region. Thank you once again for that. I don't think we have anyone from DRC to assist us.
I want to echo what my fellow comrade has said, just a few seconds. What Maxwell has said is the actual truth of Swaziland, and leaders, all I'm appealing for in this forum is that look at it like actual fact and happening on the ground. These things are really happening in Swaziland. We cannot live there anymore. This is our country. And you need to help us. You need to help us. The kind of help that we're asking for, please give it to us. And that's all I wanted to say to you all comrades, that don't just, get used to that. It's not happening for the first time. It's not unusual. This is what dictators do. No, help us.